I spent 30 years paying off this house. Every mortgage payment came from honest work as a school custodian. My children grew up here, learned to walk here, celebrated birthdays here. It was my greatest achievement. Then my children grew up and moved away. The house that once echoed with laughter became so quiet. I'd come home from work to empty rooms and silence. The loneliness started creeping in. My daughter suggested I try online dating. She said, "Dad, you deserve to be happy." I felt silly at 57, but I created a profile. Within days, I connected with someone who seemed perfect. Her name was Michelle. She was beautiful, successful, and so attentive. She asked about my day, remembered my grandchildren's names, sent me pictures of her overseas business trips. I fell hard and fast. Michelle said she'd been searching for someone like me her whole life. She called me her blessing from God and talked about our future together. I started dreaming of not being alone anymore. My daughter got suspicious when I started sending money overseas for Michelle's emergency business expenses. She begged me to stop and do more research. I told her she didn't understand our love. Michelle said we could finally be together if I helped her close her business overseas. She needed $45,000. I took out personal loans, maxed my credit cards. Love was worth the cost. Then Michelle said she'd found our dream home, but we needed to act fast. My house would provide the down payment. I'd always planned to leave it to my children. But love seemed more urgent than legacy. I sold the house in 3 weeks. $185,000 deposited into my account. Michelle said to wire it to her lawyer overseas. She promised we'd close on our new home within a month. My daughter called when she heard about the house. She was crying, begging me to reconsider. I told her she was trying to ruin my happiness. I hung up on my own child for someone I'd never met. After the money was wired, Michelle's messages became less frequent. First once a day, then every few days. Then nothing. I sent hundreds of messages into a void. She never replied again. I drove to my daughter's house and told her everything. The words came out between sobs. She held me, even though I'd chosen a stranger over her. I didn't deserve her forgiveness, but she gave it anyway. The FBI agent told me the money was likely gone forever, wired overseas, converted to cryptocurrency, impossible to trace. I'd sold my house, my security, my children's inheritance for a ghost who never loved me. I moved into a small studio apartment. From a 3-bedroom house I owned outright to renting a cramped space. The walls felt like they were closing in. I'd never felt so alone in my entire life. I met Patricia at a fraud victim support group. She was a former lawyer who dedicated her life to helping people like me. "You're not stupid," she said. "You were lonely. There's a difference." Patricia had seen hundreds of romance scam cases. She said the scam artists are professionals who study loneliness like doctors study disease. They know exactly what to say because they've said it 1,000 times before. Patricia helped me create a debt repayment plan for the loans I'd taken out. The numbers were brutal. I'd be paying for years. But having a plan, any plan, made the future feel possible again. I started working overtime at the school, cleaning floors during evening events. Every extra dollar went toward my debts. The physical work was exhausting, but it kept my mind from spiraling into shame. My daughter started visiting me every Sunday. She'd bring groceries I couldn't afford and just sit with me. She never mentioned the house or the money. Her presence was the medicine I needed most. I started attending church again after years of staying home. The congregation welcomed me without judgment. An older couple invited me for Sunday dinners. Slowly, the loneliness began to ease. Patricia started a scam awareness program at the local senior center. I became her first volunteer, sharing my story so others might avoid my mistake. Each time I told it, the shame hurt a little less. A year after the scam, I'd paid off one of the personal loans. The victory felt small but significant. My daughter celebrated with me over pizza in my tiny apartment. Progress was progress. I started a small savings account for a future down payment on a new home. $300 a month, automatically deducted. It would take years, but having the goal gave me something to work toward. Patricia taught me to spot the warning signs of romance scams. The urgency, the overseas location, the refusal to video chat, the constant emergencies. I started sharing these signs with everyone I knew. 2 years after losing everything, I paid off half my loans. My daughter got engaged, and she asked me to walk her down the aisle. Being present for her wedding meant more than any house ever could. I walked my daughter down the aisle in a borrowed suit because I couldn't afford a new one. But I was there. I was present. I hadn't let shame keep me from the most important day of her life. Patricia told me I'd become one of her best scam educators. Your students listen because you've lost what they fear losing, she said. The man who lost everything was now helping others keep everything. 3 years after the scam, I paid off the last loan. $45,000 of debt, gone. My daughter threw me a debt-free party with a cake that said, "Dad did it." I cried like a baby. I started teaching scam awareness classes at schools and community centers. Seniors, college students, even high schoolers need to know the signs. Scammers don't discriminate. Loneliness affects everyone. One student came up after my class and thanked me. She'd been talking to someone online who asked for money. My story saved her from making the same mistake I did. That felt like redemption. I finally started dating again, real dating, with real people I met in real life. A woman from my church asked me to coffee. We've been seeing each other for 6 months. No money requests, just companionship. She knows about my past. I told her everything on our third date. She didn't run away or judge me. She just said, everyone deserves a second chance. Real love doesn't shame you for your mistakes. 4 years after the scam, I had enough saved for a down payment on a small condo. Not a house, but mine. My daughter helped me pick out furniture. The emptiness was finally filling up again. Patricia retired from her law practice, but she still volunteers at our scam awareness program. She says watching people like me rebuild is why she does this work. We've become friends, not just mentor and student. The man who sold his house for a ghost learned that home isn't a building. It's the people who love you. My daughter, my church community, the woman who accepts my past, they're my home now. I still get lonely sometimes. We all do. But now I recognize loneliness for what it is, a feeling, not an emergency. I don't need to solve it by trusting strangers who promise love too quickly. I've forgiven myself for trusting Michelle. Patricia helped me see that wanting love doesn't make me stupid. It makes me human. The shame I carried for years finally released its hold on me. Now when I come home from work, my apartment isn't empty anymore. Sometimes my daughter is there. Sometimes my girlfriend. Sometimes I'm alone, but I'm okay with that. I've learned that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. And that's the real freedom.